Boom.
Good morning, gamers. Welcome to another edition of the Live Connection podcast number 54. And bless you, Evan. And happy Father's Day to all of the dads out there, including Jarrod, who looks like the most car salesman dad of them all. How's everybody doing today?
Usually, like a collared shirt is more like associated with golf. Like Bobby said today, she's like, "You look like you're gonna go golfing."
Hmm.
Are you gonna go?
It is a nice shirt.
Are you golfing?
No, I'm not going golfing. I'm just it was what I pulled out of my closet.
This is the definition of what this shirt is.
But
Wow.
Anyways, boys, we got some things to talk about today. For the first time in a long time, there's actually a decent amount of Pokemon stuff to talk about. So let's just get it out of the way. Peter, what do you say?
What Pokemon stuff is out, Matt? Please.
So we had the first expansion for Pokemon Sword and Shield come out the past Wednesday, the Isle of Armor, which Peter and I had a pretty good time streaming. And what's interesting is, thanks, Peter. What's interesting is on that same day, like literally the very minute that the DLC dropped, they also did the first edition of what they're calling Pokemon Presents, which I guess is a supplement for like a Pokemon Direct, but the whole Direct tagline is more Nintendo's market, and as we've seen with Pokemon over the years, they're starting to lean really heavily into the mobile game market as well. And, you know, why not, right? The Pokemon Company, obviously, it's a super profitable brand and this and that. So a lot of interesting stuff to kind of talk about, but we'll shave it down to the big stuff. So Pokemon Presents, they announced new Pokemon Snap. I know a certain boy who just got up off the couch who's probably excited about that.
Yeah.
Pokemon Cafe Mix, just another Pokemon Shuffle thing, basically. Pokemon Smile, I'm downloading that frame one.
What's that?
Pokemon Sleep.
I don't know, man, because like the news that they announced is basically the time frame lines up with when they announced all that stuff last year. Because I think what they do is like around that same time frame every year, they're responsible for just like lining up a bunch of their projects and basically telling their investors what they're planning on doing in the future. Which is interesting because what they actually said at the end of the Pokemon Presents is that there's another one a week from that date, which is the 24th, where they're announcing their big project. So I think there's a lot of speculation to be had about what that project is going to be, right? Because you would assume that they're not doing another main series Pokemon game this year, because I think the DLC, the 2 expansions, are going to take up those slots.
Like, you think they're gonna announce like a remake of a game for like next year, sort of thing?
So this is very interesting. I think there's a lot of bias involved in this, but a lot of people think that it's going to be those Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness remakes that I've been dreaming of my whole life.
That sounds too good to be true, Matt. I think. Oh, I don't know.
Apparently, from what I vaguely read, there's like a leak, but misinformation can be spread so much recently that I think the leak is just the president of the Pokemon Company in the Pokemon Presents thing. He had like a bunch of like Pokemon paraphernalia in his background, and it was all just plushies of like Johto Pokemon. Like there's 8 generations, there's a ridiculous amount of Pokemon, and all of the plushies in the background were Johto Pokemon. So a lot of people think that it's either the next installment in the Let's Go series, so like Let's Go Gold and Silver, basically.
I was gonna say I was actually hoping to do a remake. I don't want them to do the same style of catch as they did in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I would love to see a remake of Gold and Silver. Those are still hands. I think those are my favorite games. Period.
Diamond and Pearl, though. Diamond and Pearl.
Oh, those are pretty good too. But I don't know. Between the two of them, they were pretty tight for me for favorite game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty, like, I think people really do try to predict like the timeline of releases for Pokemon games, and in the past few years they were really good at being right. Like, you know, everyone sniffed the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire out of the water really, really well. But considering what they've started doing with the expansions and everything, and you know, throw whatever Let's Go is supposed to be in there, like I don't think anybody can really say for absolute certainty what it's going to be, because I would be really surprised. Like, think about how unusual it would be if the fall comes around and we've got the second expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then the next main series game releasing in the time frame of like at least 4 weeks from each other. Like, that just doesn't seem like something they would do.
I don't know.
I
It's
can
money
more see it.
making. It's
I
good.
can more.
They'd sell for it, right? Like they'd make money off of
Mhm.
another DLC, and they'd make money off of people buying the game again. Like it wouldn't be a bad system.
I don't think
Mhm.
Game Freak can develop that quickly, though. To be honest,
So Game Freak has two development teams. They have their primary development team that does the next generation games, and that gives them a decent rotation of like 3 or 4 or 5 years to put together the game. Although sometimes it still ends up being a rushed product, but that's a conversation for another day. And then they have like a sub team that historically has always worked on that like third version game. So like Emerald, Platinum, Black 2, White 2, etc. Right? Um, or the remakes as well, I think, go into that category. So, like when they first announced that they were doing the expansion pass, they had the director of the expansion pass like tell everybody some stuff about the games, and like nobody knew who that person was because it's just like the executive of a different team, I assume. So it's hard to say for sure. My hopes are kind of up for Coliseum XD remakes, but considering they're dedicating a whole other Pokemon Presents section to it, I think it's really exciting. So what do you guys think it's going to be?
I don't think there's any chance that they're going to be remaking those GameCube games.
you see, maybe 2 weeks
I,
ago, I
I
would have
think I'm sadly with Evan.
like.
Uh,
It's just,
well, I hope
yeah,
you get it
Peter-
wrong at least.
Peter's got
Like-
a point. Just because Pokemon Snap 2 is
that's the only
announced,
reason.
and
I get
fans have been wanting that since 1999, and
If
What
I
is
had
it?
to
Only
guess,
Got
just
it.
rolled up with that.
That's
like,
the key
yeah.
difference. You don't see the internet talking about the GameCube games. Everyone always is talking about Snap, bring back Snap, bring back Snap. No one's talking about bring back Gale of Darkness or Coliseum. Like, I'm
What-
sure maybe there might be a movement of
bring back Pokemon Traze. Pokemon Traze
What is
for the
Snap?
Switch. You take
Pokemon
pictures
Snap
of Pokemon.
was Yeah, it was a Nintendo 64 game, and it was really iconic because they never have done anything like it before or after. I never owned a Nintendo 64, so I never played it.
When are we
Like,
gonna
It
you
was
get
the
literally
first
have-
time you saw Pokemon in like a 3D environment and saw them have like those 3D sprites. So for a lot of people,
Yeah,
it was like really immersive for like the Pokemon
Like, you
universe.
literally got an accessory with a mic on it that you literally would have to yell into to attract Pikachu and stuff.
Oh
No,
shit.
that's
Oh.
That was Hey
That's a
Pikachu.
different one.
Oh, sorry, I'm
yeah.
those two
Literally
are
get
like the
that-
unique
get-
games of Pokemon that I kind of put together. I kind of see it as
That
all
makes
one
sense.
experience.
Yeah.
You can kind
yeah,
of
they-
put Pokemon Channel in there too, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
another weird.
That was up for the GameCube, right?
Here's
I
my
think
question.
so.
Here's my question. Because Eric makes a point about how it was the first time you saw the 3D sprites and like it was immersive. But have we evolved past the need for a Pokemon Snap 2? Like, is it all just going to be nostalgia, like a remake? Or, like, do people actually like the gameplay? Because when I look at gameplay footage of that game, it looks boring as hell. I don't know why people like the game. Like, I don't
It
get
does really feel like they're making this it's not a remake, it's technically a sequel, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
but
sequel.
Yeah.
it does feel like they're making it like really just for the sake of all the fans that want it. And I'm sure it's going to be fun, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to get it and start playing it and realize that it was really just their nostalgia for that experience they had as a kid that made them want it so bad. So if they don't like the new game and the new game doesn't do well, I mean, I'm going to get it day one. I never played the original, and if it's enjoyable as people say, like, I'll try it out.
I just don't think it actually is enjoyable. I think people just think it was.
Well, I wanted to like kind of bring that point to is like a remake of like Coliseum or Gale of Darkness. They were good games. They're fun, but if they did remake them, they could not make them $80 games because they are not long enough to be an $80 game. That is not a big enough game to be worth that kind of money, even remastered.
I think the general assumption is that they would do both those games together, which is what I would want them to do. But like, I don't know. It is a bit sus that all of.
New one? Why not just like a sequel?
I think that's the other thing that I've just kind of like gone through Twitter and read some speculation, and I think it's either a remake of the first two together or a sequel to them, because it does seem like the kind of franchise that would be a trilogy, if you know what I mean, right? Like, it would be cool to see them give some finality to the story, and like I would be thrilled about a sequel instead of just a remake, because I was thinking about it like yesterday, like the gameplay mechanic in those games were so unique. Like, catching Pokemon is fun when it's isolated on its own, but when you have to catch Pokemon while also trying to win a battle, and both the Pokemon you're trying to catch and the trainer's other Pokemon are just trying to spank you the whole time, it's actually really fun. I mean, say what you will about being spanked, but like, just the idea that, like, you have to use one of your turns to be able to catch the Pokemon. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. It's Father's Day. It's on my mind. I'm sorry.
What? Why is getting smacked on your mind on Father's Day? That makes no sense.
Oh my god.
Not even smacked, it's spanked. That's
The thing is, like, it was not, there's no attention drawn to that. Like, you said it, I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying. You're like getting smacked by the trainer, I get it, losing. And then you emphasized, you're like
I'm sorry. I just couldn't let it slide. I saw Peter have like a weird what is that?
It's our sour cream.
That's disgusting.
That's my soul after you said that, Matt.
Yeah.
The chat says what?
I'm glad you just outdid us with something even more gross, Evan, or at least I hope it was. Who here has played the expansion yet? Hands up. No? Did you get it, Jarrod? Are you thinking about it, or?
It depends. Like, I don't know. Right now I'm trying to grind because I wanna routes in my sword, but I'm not waiting for a fog event because apparently they're super rare. So I've basically been playing Let's Go Eevee to import from my routes from Pokemon Go, but I need to get to Saffron City first, and then I'm going to import it to Saffron City, and then you can like take it from the park there, catch it, and then you can take it and put it into. I was reading a whole thing. It's like the whole process to get it. But
Jarrod,
what?
I got some bad news for you, pal.
What?
You can only do Gen 1 Pokemon in the Go Park in Let's Go. They are, that's, I mean, it's interesting that you brought it up because they are actually.
I've been playing that
that
god awful game, that piece of poo game.
It's not an awful game.
You know, like, one of us can just trade you an egg.
I know, but I wanted to be independent, and I was trying so hard to be independent, and I was using it as an excuse to play a game.
Yours.
I know, but I was using it as an excuse to play a game that I bought and didn't play, because I started playing it in the catching scheme, and leveling up scheme is so stupid, because that game's hard enough to level up in when you're grinding Pokemon, no mind when you're when you're doing the catch system for XP.
Is Evan Canadian PewDiePie? Yeah, I know. It's like rebranded. I like your nod of approval too at the coffee. You're just like, it is good.
If someone can just give me a route, you just.
Jarrod, I've been like literally trying to shiny breed for a Ralts in my game. I'll yass you an egg, and then if you get traded an egg and it hatches in your game, it's your Pokemon. So
sweet.
If you can just $40.
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst thing to be trying to play through and get your money's worth of Let's Go though. Let's Go is an interesting game because like it's kind of what I mean when I say like you can't predict like their development cycles anymore, because I think Let's Go just bought them some time for Sword and Shield and gave them like just a small chance to develop a game on the Switch and just kind of see what they need to know to develop a more expansive game on the Switch. But the fact that they haven't put Let's Go on sale and that it still costs $80 and Sword and Shield also costs $80, if you're looking at which game to buy these days, it's an absolute no-brainer, right? Like you're always going to want to go for Sword and Shield.
They could have just done a remake of Fire Red and Leaf Green though. And it would have been better than what Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu was.
I really appreciated Let's Go for what it was when it came out, but it doesn't hold a candle to Sword and Shield, honestly.
It's
but
just,
still,
I just find it boring, to be honest. Like, it's just you don't really have to use your Pokemon. I find that like I said, that game's leveling scheme for gyms is absolutely ridiculous because you're like Giovanni in the last gyms level like 60 something 70 Pokemon and you're just like, oh, here's and every other Pokemon's level 50. 50's like the final gym-ish, somewhere around there.
Is Jarrod bad at Pokemon?
I think Jarrod's just bad at Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu.
No, if I were in your situation, Jarrod, I would actually like jump at the opportunity to fight a gym battle that I was under-leveled for, because then it would have some semblance of difficulty.
I have been.
Have a hard time having that.
I haven't in that game when I've been going through it. I have not been grinding. I just go through the level, and then if I'm under-leveled, I just make it work.
Yeah.
I never beat Let's Go, just because. The catching mechanic in the end ended up pissing me off. I was going for a shiny chain or something, and then no fault of my own, it just breaks free. All of that time's completely wasted, and I have to start over again. And I was just like, all right, well, fuck this. This has happened so many times. I don't care.
There's a big wave of shiny chaining within our friend group, and Let's Go. We all were like addicted to it for a while until you realize that it's the most soul-rending process, and it literally holds your Switch hostage because your catch chain disappears if you close the game, so you have to keep catching the Pokemon to shiny chain until you get it. So like I remember I got the game, and then over Christmas my family wanted to play like Overcooked or something, and I'm like, guys, sorry. I'm trying to catch a shiny Magikarp right now. I can't help you. I'm sorry. You know, like it was just the worst.
Guys, I'm trying to catch the most generic shiny in the world right now.
Shut up! Dude, shut up. Be quiet.
I got a shiny Magikarp in the game too. So I was happy.
Last discussion I want to have about Pokemon, then we can move on because I know Jarrod has some stuff to talk about. Expansion Pass, it's fascinating because I really don't know what I was expecting out of the first expansion. And the story, it took me no time at all to complete, but even though it was short, it was really, really sweet. I really enjoyed the story, actually. I mean, I don't know. It's not like an Oscar-winning tale or anything like that, but the progression with like Kubfu and the progression with Mustard, like I didn't really think anything of the character Mustard.
How can you say that without being serious? How can that is not in a serious statement where you say, "Oh yeah, I got this from Mustard." Oh yeah, then I went over to Honey.
Are their names dumb as hell? Kinda, but like the role that they play in the story is actually really cool.
They named Pokemon Mustard and Honey?
No. Two NPCs, two key NPCs to the DLC.
That's still stupid.
Yeah. It's
like Honey,
it's dumb.
Maybe. But Mustard, that's not a fucking name.
No, this is literally that's just being lazy. That's not even like trying to make some sort of in-depth character.
Hey, yo, Mayonnaise, what's up?
Yeah. I think everybody knows about this cool Easter egg that they did, except maybe Jarrod. And sorry, buddy, but for the sake of conversation, I'm going to spoil it for you. It's just
I don't really care. Go for it. It's going to take me forever to get through Pokemon Sword, and so
they brought back following Pokemon just for the sake of the Isle of Armor, and it was a huge surprise. Peter and I were playing. Evan was in the Twitch chat, and then you unlock the ability. You go outside the dojo, and your Pokemon just shows up, and then you're like, "Oh no!" And then you go to your Pokemon menu, you switch to a different Pokemon at the lead of your party, and then they come up, and you're like, "Oh no!" It was a really, really cool little thing, and it's definitely the worst way that it's been implemented. Well, not like the worst. It doesn't function as smoothly as Let's Go's following system does, because Let's Go's following system, they always stay and they always have their own kind of movement patterns, but if they ever go too far, they'll always go right back to you. And I think Sword and Shield's version of it, like, it doesn't compromise the smoothness of the gameplay for the sake of the following Pokemon, which I guess I respect, but there are a lot of really wonky moments, but honestly, it's actually just like a huge thing that they added. And it's like, there's really not much to it. Like, they just follow you and that's the end of it. But when you realize that you can just constantly switch in any Pokemon, shiny, not shiny, just any Pokemon that you want to see running behind you, it's actually really cool. So we were blown away by that.
In the overworld?
They do.
See, I think that's. I'm
cool.
honestly surprised they didn't have that to begin with, because that was a mechanic that a lot of people actually liked about that game.
Yeah.
Paywall.
So it's just like, I don't understand quite why they didn't do that. It also was nice because you could actually see scale, right? Just to see them fighting each other, you wouldn't really see scale between the different sizes, but when they're following you, you actually get that scale of size. Like, that was one thing that was cool about Let's Go, is it did change. I like how Peter's trying to be comical, and he's literally just not funny at all.
I mean, that was funny enough for you to diverge off your conversation.
It wasn't funny. It was slightly irritating with what you said.
Dude,
you're just sitting there, Peter, like smiling, waiting for someone to react. You just.
Because I know if someone said it was dumb enough for someone to
the best thing about it is Peter's the first one to get mad when someone interrupts him, and then he's the one that's the one that does it the most.
I do it to you.
I hate you.
I really hated the Let's Go following system because it showed me how Venusaur walks, and I hate it. I hate everything about how Venusaur jumps around like a fucking frog. He's supposed to be a dinosaur, not a frog.
He's a dinosaur frog.
Anime.
Well, no. Well, I guess in
he's supposed to just lumber and be like. Rawr.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Freaking like a frog. He's like.
I was gonna say Bulbasaur does that, but like.
I get Bulbasaur's allowed to hop like a frog. He's a little boy. Venusaur's a big boy. Yeah, he's supposed to be like.
It's really just the way that if you watch it in slow motion.
He's not a frog. He's a dinosaur.
His legs like extend. It's really upsetting. His legs go to like twice their length, and it's like blowing.
I love when my legs extend.
Knees as well.
Yeah.
I wish.
I know you do.
All right.
That'd be a dream come true, Peter.
To close the Pokemon section of the podcast, I want you guys to guess how many Pokemon Matt has in his Pokemon home.
All of them.
No. Like what's the total bulk number of Pokemon in there?
Well,
1,700.
I'm gonna guess 1,537.
I'm gonna guess 1,672.
The answer.
I'm guessing somewhere around 1,700.
It's about 4,500. 40. Yeah, that on the podcast he opened up Pokemon Home, and I saw that. I was like, Matt, was that 4,500? 4,500. That is so many. That's more Pokemon than I've ever seen.
That's
like,
a lot of Pokemon.
Did somebody guess it?
You have a fucking militia, Matt.
More than
you can take over a small country.
He could.
That's messed up.
Matt, is Matt gonna be the next villain in the Pokemon game?
Matt is
like an overzealous Pokemon collector. It's like you go for the final battle, he just opens two giant floodgates behind him, and just millions of Pokemon just walk out, and he's like, defeat all my Pokemon. Yeah, it's not going to show up super well.
Oh my gosh. I think it's like 4501.
Yeah. I don't know how it got this far.
I mean, if you think about it.
Oh, I know how it got this far.
Go back to the podcast where we calculated the total hours Matt put into Pokemon and what he would make based off a minimum wage for playing Pokemon. And you know what? I'm actually kind of disappointed that you don't have more Pokemon.
Evan's always like the little villain on the shoulder.
Yeah. This is my live dex. I showed this on the stream. I just thought while I was here.
Those are some nice pixels you got there.
Okay, never mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, it's weird because like, people who've been playing the games for a while for some reason, like they've been doing this thing for a long time where you can transfer Pokemon between generations, and so people just kind of felt this need to like just keep all of the Pokemon that they've ever had, and like like for the longest time I just had like no organization to my bank, and I used to like make fun of people who did live dexes until I realized that I could just literally do one because I had almost every one of every Pokemon anyways. So that's nice.
Speaking of size, you know, Peter, you were complaining a lot about how big the Xbox Series X was going to be. The PlayStation 5 is huge. People are starting to complain about how massive that thing is. It's like the size of a freaking TV.
Okay, that might be an exaggeration.
Oh, right. We changed. Sorry. I got excited. I had a little bit of power. I wanted to hold on to it.
Yeah.
This is the controller, all right?
I do know what an Xbox controller looks like.
Okay.
The PC or the PlayStation 5 is, I think, taller than 4 of these stacked on top of each other. So 1, 2.
That's pretty big.
3, 4. That's my entire perspective.
I don't think that was to scale. That was like 3.5.
So pretty much you can just take Evan's head, put it on your counter, and that's the PlayStation 5.
Wait, can you turn the PlayStation 5 on its side, or does it have to stand up?
It has to stand up for airflow.
Really?
The reason it's so big and they're talking about this is to allow for better performance, but maintaining like a cooler system. Otherwise, it would overheat.
Yeah, because you know those 2-inch to 3-inch fins on the very top of it that poke out. Yeah, that's for performance.
I mean, I don't think it being big is a bad thing.
I'm just saying what they said.
You're the one that was complaining that big was a bad thing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need another mini fridge or a router.
He's gonna call the new Xbox a mini fridge, but he ain't gonna call this one like a fucking router.
Fine, guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my god.
This is literally the size of the Series X. Look at this. This is tiny.
No, it's not. Okay, you're gone too far now. Where's my this? Here's my coffee mug, and here's the new Xbox, guys.
Oh my god, the future's now, you guys.
No, the new Xbox is like is about the equivalent size of about an 8 terabit hard drive. That's what I was reading on Tech Radar.
Yeah,
I don't know how big that is.
It's not too big. It's like if I was to measure it out, it's like I know that doesn't really show relevance, but it's like about.
This is a Nintendo Switch.
It's about a foot and a bit. Yeah. About a foot, give or take.
Wow. So the PS5 is like notably bigger than the Xbox, right?
Yeah, but you're talking about, and this is the thing I wanted to point out when you're talking about Xbox versus Sony, is that a lot of the time you're a computer company versus a general electronics company, and I'm not taking away, like, PlayStation is amazing, it's got some wicked games on it, but Microsoft, as soon as you start getting that border between PC and console, Microsoft is going to start to run away with performance-wise because they have the technology to condense it into smaller places, right? Like, that's just in their ability. That's what they do. Peter, stop holding up your little dick, and then let's move on with this conversation.
You know, I don't interrupt you. I'm just doing my own thing, and you maliciously attack me. There's no reason for this.
Maliciously.
Yeah, maliciously.
But yeah, that's like, to me, it's, I don't know. I'd be surprised if Microsoft really wanted to, performance-wise, run away with it. They would just breach that border between console and PC. Simple as that.
Some lines shouldn't be crossed, Jarrod. At what cost?
Oh my
will
god.
The things you say, like, you just have to always consider the other side. That's all I'm saying.
No, true. I'm just pointing that out, that if Microsoft really wanted to run away with a console war, they would incorporate a lot of their higher end CPUs and GPUs into those consoles.
What if they could
all the most powerful PCs are created by people, like, just building their own PC.
Wait.
But I'm talking about, you have a lot of, Microsoft dips their toes in a lot of shares in companies like Nvidia and stuff like that make graphics cards and CPUs. Intel. Sure, yeah, but Microsoft is a much bigger company, Evan. We've already had that comparison between them.
Are they a bigger company?
Yes.
Wait, Evan? Microsoft is absolutely a bigger company.
You're saying Microsoft is a bigger company than Sony?
Yes. The
Sony,
biggest computer company in the world, the
TVs,
biggest computer company in the
everything.
world is bigger than Sony.
Can I say something really fast?
Nope.
It's Golden Taco's birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I had to work.
So the net value of Sony is $45 billion.
Chump change. What a weaklings.
The net value of Microsoft is $1 trillion, Evan.
Okay. Hang on here. Hang on.
Great.
That doesn't mean
anything.
I'm just gonna start playing on my Switch.
I can freaking have a company that owns freaking a building on every block and say, "Oh, I'm a massive company because my net worth is blah blah blah." It has nothing to do with net worth. It has nothing to do with what kind of assets you hold.
So what's it about?
It's about your net profits for the year. Sony made $5.4 billion last year, 2019. And what did Microsoft make last year?
$3.
$43 billion.
So they made more.
They're bigger.
I just said that.
You're using the wrong metrics, bro.
It doesn't matter. I was correct in what I said.
Jarrod, you said
you're right in the wrong way.
For us. I'm in the mood. Bring it to me.
No.
Bring me the debate topic.
Yes,
come on, let's go. Come on.
Evan's
all right.
Testy.
My question I was gonna ask you. Well, can I bring up my other topic first? Because I feel like this next topic, that topic could take a while. My next thing I wanted to point out is, what does everyone think about the fact that Cyberpunk was delayed again till November?
I don't know. I think it's good for the game. It's sad.
I agree with what you and Erik are saying, where it's like, it's a good thing, because they even said when they delayed it, they're like, we just don't want to release a game that we don't think meets our standards of a good game.
Oh, it's backwards. Fuck.
So
said death.
To me, I'm okay with that, because we've had too many games where they've just released them, and I mean, with everything that's happened this year, I wouldn't be surprised if their production got slowed down while they were in the middle of doing their quality control for September.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. I honestly was going to be surprised if they kept their September release date.
I'm really fascinated by how straightforward they are with, like, when they announce that they're delaying it again, because it sounds like they've got this massive game, but they're really thoroughly going through with it and looking through looking for bugs in the game, which means that there's probably like a lot to the game. There's a lot of variety to the game. There's a lot of situations where a bug can occur. Like, I feel like the fact that the game is like done, but they don't want to Sonic 06 it and like actually make sure that it's like not a polished, finished product. Like, that's my polishing hand signal. Imagine like a cloth. And this is Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm polishing it as a developer.
It's cool to think that, like, if you're playing Cyberpunk and you do end up finding a glitch in some part of the world, then you can kind of just think to yourself that this is a place that the developers just didn't think of to, like, go check out thoroughly.
That should delay the game further.
Yeah, well, it'd be like you can see it as like it's an obscure place even for the developers. So maybe you're in a place that not many people go to.
Here's another thing. I was just gonna say quickly with regards to Peter being frustrated with it. Here's another thing. Peter, you would be the first one to absolutely tear that game apart if they released an unfinished game. If they released an unfinished game, you would.
Okay. Can I defend myself? Is this allowed?
Sure.
No.
Normally, you may be correct. I'm willing to admit that. However, I've had this game pre-ordered since the second I could, back last E3, I believe. I pre-ordered this game for so long, it needs to be good. So regardless of what happens, I'm of the opinion it is a 10 out of 10 game. Regardless of what happened.
Wow.
I will defend that until the day
here's a question.
over.
Here's a question. If I'm going to use this as an example because we all know it had the shittiest launch and still is not a great game. What if it turned out to be the quality of 76? Would you still? No. But I'm saying you would still.
There's no chance. There's no chance in hell it's of that quality.
I know, Evan. I'm doing a hypothetical because Peter literally said I would vote no matter how bad the game is. I will give it a 10 out of 10.
I know it won't be that bad, so I'm fine saying I would still support it.
There's nothing that CD Projekt Red has done to warrant anyone thinking that this game is going to be shitty. Nothing. Bethesda has created that reputation.
We're not getting into another Bethesda discussion. I'm talking about Peter's. I'm literally I was just asking a question to Peter, Evan. I was not saying that Bethesda. I'm not defending Bethesda. I've already said they've absolutely blown a tire and they suck right now.
I'm just using an example.
I hate Evan. Why do I come to these podcasts?
Don't let the tensions rise yet.
Words in my mouth.
Bethesda sucks.
Regardless, it's going to be a great game. There's no doubt in my mind that the game is not going to be a 10 out of 10. I think Peter's right. And I can't wait to buy it, play an hour of it, and probably never play it again.
$80, well spent. Do you think it's possible that they would have a bug in the game after this? Like, if you actually, what's the likelihood that you could find a bug in a game like this after all this?
It's a choice. It's a big open world choice based game. Like, if it's an open world, you're gonna find bugs, no matter how polished the game is.
Yeah. But we're gonna find.
Sometimes it's not even the game's fault. It's just your console might have downloaded a file wonkily, and it could have just.
Yeah, that's why they constantly release those updates. Is that they try to correct files that may have been downloaded incorrect and then fix others.
Wish I could do that with my homework.
Bad grade.
It's called just
download new grade.
Anyway, do you guys know another game that's like 10 out of 10?
Last of Us 2.
Fallout 76.
Minecraft. What's going
Minecraft?
On? What do you want to talk
about? This year, Minecraft, I'm proud to say, has been inducted into the Video Game World Hall of Fame.
I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest.
It's because of how big it is.
No, I know, but I'm surprised it took this long for them to induct it into the Hall of Fame. Like, it's been literally the cross-platform generational game since it launched.
It is now on the same level as Bejeweled. Damn, dude.
You're talking to a bunch of guys that are like, eh.
Don't give a shit about.
You know what else is there? Microsoft Solitaire. Holy shit, these are some heavy hitters.
Is Minesweeper up there?
No, Minesweeper, is it? I don't know.
I hope it is. That was the game of this. Oh my god, they blew
But John Madden Football, the very first one. Mwah! Mwah!
Whoever made this list, wherever this Hall of Fame is, it's a bad game.
You know, the only title I don't really agree about that's on this list is the first Sonic the Hedgehog game. I don't really think it.
Oh, come on! It created an iconic series.
Matt, don't feed him. Don't feed him.
Dude. Sonic sucks now. Sonic games suck now, but Sonic, the introduction of Sonic the Hedgehog as a character is a landmark for his status as a video game character. You can say whatever you want about how bad a majority of Sonic's general game base is. You can talk about how much Sonic has flopped and embarrassed themselves over the years, although 2020 is when Sonic makes a comeback, I'm telling you that.
No, it's not true.
But it introduced one of the most iconic video game characters that's ever existed, and it began this crazy rivalry between Nintendo and Sega that we all didn't get to experience because they were already kind of falling off when we were born, right? But Sonic lit a fire under Mario and Nintendo's ass. That's the way it is. There's a lot of reasons why the Sonic the Hedgehog deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think Nintendo was ever scared of Sonic.
Dude, I mean, Sega and Sonic were outperforming Nintendo during the console wars.
I'd rather play Pong than Sonic.
All right.
Bring a good point though. Sonic I won't go into it, but I saw something. The guy that's running the Sonic Twitter page, he recently came out and said that he's done with the page and he's moving on because he's not working for the Sonic team anymore. But he made this message about how 5 years ago he got into the position for the Sonic Twitter page. Sonic was not in a good place. Everyone hated Sonic and everything. and every post he would make
I miss those days.
it would just be received with hate and everything. And so he was just like, you know what, screw it, and he stopped going to the Sega team for approval for tweets. And then he was just because of he made it pretty much kind of a meme page, and because of that, he gained millions of followers and like pretty much built their Sonic brand personally for them again.
Dude, Sonic, I think Sonic is the Sonic like social media is the first example of a brand getting like super memey. And like I'm if you think about it, like I think it's the first time that no, dude, I think Wendy's saw how popular it was when Sonic was doing it, was like, But seriously, like, dude, I remember this happening clear as day. So the person that was the social or the brand manager for Sonic before this person that just retired, they must have like just had like a meltdown or some shit. I remember I was looking at a Sonic post on Facebook, and it was like not related to Sonic at all. It was basically them like saying like don't say mean things to people, like be nice to the people, and then like other people were commenting and saying shit, and the person running the account was commenting and like arguing with them. They were like Facebook beefing. They're having a Facebook flame war, but on the Sonic account, and it was really embarrassing. And then of course, lo and behold, like 2 days later, nice little picture of her with a Sonic mascot. Today was my last day at Sega, you know. And then this new fella comes in and totally turns it around. So it actually is kind of sad that he's still working for Sega. He's just not working in that position anymore.
No, he's moving on. He's moving on.
No, dude, he said in the post he's working in a different position in Sega.
Regardless, he's not the Twitter guy anymore.
He's not the Twitter boy anymore.
They did good with it.
Yeah. Dude, what the heck is Colossal Cave Adventure?
All right, I have the next topic of choice here. I was scouring some of the tech forums, and they were talking about modders, because I mean it's a generation where a lot of people aren't necessarily game developers, but they like to produce mods for different games. So, and there was a big question that came up in one of these big groups that had I think it was like over 10,000 posts on it. And it was just literally talking about, should more games make room for modders after development is done? And what kind of games should they allow modders to be a part of? Because obviously there's some games where if you had like a single player game and they modded something, you're like, what the fuck is this? But like that's my question. Like, do you guys think do you think game companies should allow the community to have more creative freedom to kind of give different alternatives versions of their game to the community, or should they be kind of not as accessible to them? What's the thought?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Modding is actually illegal. It's either A, illegal, or B, really frowned upon, or C, both in Japan. Modding is like really, really against video game culture in Japan.
That reminds me of a story when I was playing Halo 3 back in like grade 8 or whatever grade we were in when it came out. And I like got out of the map, and I was outside of the map just dicking around on the Covenant, and my sister saw me doing it, and I was like, she was like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I just got out of the map on the game, ha ha ha. And she's like, don't do that, you might get in trouble.
Well, I
was like, oh my god, am I gonna get in trouble for doing this?
That's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yes, I've heard that it can be illegal, and I think some companies like Microsoft, they won't allow the console games to get modded because they kind of can't really regulate what goes on in the game anymore, you know. And I think there's some issues with that, but yeah, no, I think on PC, I think absolutely you should be able to mod. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to mod.
What about Skyrim?
I was just gonna make that comment. I was like, some of the best gameplay, for example, Fallout 4 didn't come from the developers, came from the mods that came after. Like right now,
Evan needs a helping hand.
I'll be right there, Evan.
Matt, that was for you. That's a Pokemon move. It's
No,
used by the best raid AI.
Below the TV. Evan, don't do that. We
See,
can see
Evan,
your
look at
keyboard.
his keyboard. Oh wow!
You can
Look
see
at
the stains on your keyboard.
All right, you were
where are
saying
we at
that
the modding?
Skyrim was getting modded, but that's PC.
Well, no.
Xbox.
Fallout and Skyrim on Xbox have mods. I'm doing it right now on my Xbox. That's what I'm basically
edition,
I'm trying to
for
get.
years.
I'm trying to record a video right now. I'm trying to record
right now, Jarrod. That's illegal.
That is not illegal.
Don't mod. I swear to God.
They have like the whole mod section on Fallout, and I'm basically going through. I'm gonna make a video to see what mods to make Fallout a close to equivalent of like 3 in New Vegas, to see what it has to be for gameplay wise, what mods you should incorporate in order to get close to it. And I've just been putting a whole bunch of mods down on my game to see if I can get it like the choice-based system to that standard, the gameplay to that standard, the settlement building, because that was one of the biggest complaints, was that the settlement building was kind of dumb with how they set it up in the game, whereas
it's barely a tutorial.
Yeah, whereas there's actual like mods like sim settlements where you can just put down plots and let the community build up the settlement. Like you build the walls or whatever you want to do, but they get to build their houses, they get to build their stores. It kind of makes it more unique. Each settlement becomes a little more unique. Like the guy who does the mod for that one has a vast number of options they can basically randomize and choose from. So that, like, I've been testing it on 4 different settlements, and I've only had, out of those 4 settlements, I have roughly like 30 or 35 people, and I have maybe 1 or 2 houses that overlapped in the same design. So it's been it's interesting. So I've just been trying to see. That's why that question. I kind of, when I looked at that form, I thought, well, maybe I'll try that with Fallout, see if I can make the game a lot better. Because I never really played with mods, because I find, especially on console, some of the mods, like the graphical mods, don't run great. There's one that's called Green Commonwealth, and there's a bit of lag to the game when you get more going on, but it makes the map look way better. Like it makes it actually look appealing to you, and it doesn't make it look like it's not a wasteland. It makes it just look a little more color appealing to the eye. So I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can get some good content out of it. Obviously, if I get to the end of that and I'm like, it's not worth it, it's not gonna be a video. But I just thought I'd go on and see. So I was just questioning about modders, because I mean, I know that in that franchise in general, they're actually the reason a lot of those games add and make things cool. Like the actual settlements in Fallout 4, the reason Bethesda chose to do settlements was because of the mod that happened in Fallout 3 for settlements. So people in Fallout 3 were always asking, why can't we build settlements? Like you have Megaton and all that, and then there's this vast wasteland that has nothing in it. So why can't we build our own settlements to match that? And that was where the modders came out, and they were like, oh, you put this camp-esque thing, like what they did in Fallout 76 down, obviously a better system than they did. I don't know why they didn't just go to the modder and be like, hey, how'd you do your camp system, and then implement it. But they basically, you put down something and you have this huge area to customize, and it was basically a better version of settlements. Bethesda saw that. They put it in Fallout 4. It wasn't great because they really restricted you on like placement, and they should have made it so that you could get rid of landscape and allow you to really customize the area. Like if they really want to make it part of the game and make people truly care about doing it, then you need to make it fully customizable. You can't just make it semi-customizable and then be like, okay, try. Because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to make a walled settlement when the earth is slightly uneven and then you're just fucked for the rest of the time, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I just was just off of that and my experience right now of putting mods on. I think it's honestly, I wouldn't mind if more games gave that option, because it's not like they say you have to use the mods to play the game. It just gives the community more creative freedom to be like, hey, listen, you guys did a good game, but why don't we add this to it or something and see what people think? And that's kind of that is one thing that I do like about, I mean, 76 you can't because it's an online game, so you can't mod it, so it's absolutely off the table. And I think that's one of the big reasons 76 also had no appeal to the community, because the community builds off itself in Fallout. Same with a lot of Skyrim stuff after obviously the initial launch was huge, but following that, when it slowed down, it played a lot off modders to make the game continually playable. And I just think that why not? Like, what's the harm in allowing more communities to do that to a game? And then it also gives the developers ideas for the next game. Like, you can give credit to them, the modders, for the next game, but it's just like, why not give that opportunity? Because then you actually get to see what the community wants, not what you think the community wants.
I think game developers are weird when it comes to the modding community. I don't think they like to accept that people are making their games better, especially like Bethesda. Like they don't want to like I know they made Skyrim. They released a specific version of Skyrim that's ready to be modded or something. But I think it's kind of like the movies, you know, like where if a movie studio gets like a script for when they're making a movie, they can't open it legally. They have to throw it out because if they open it, then that person can now argue that they took their idea and implemented it into the movie and is like it needs compensation. So maybe they don't do that with the modding community because they don't want to deal with like the legality of trying to compensate the person for their work and implementing it into the game.
That's true.
The modding community is huge on Steam. Like Steam implemented the Steam Workshop just so they could have an official source of mods and stuff. And there's free ones, there's paid ones, and so obviously the developers have to like opt in that that's allowed. But for it to be big enough for Steam to respond and provide a easy way to do it, I think says that I think at least a large portion of the developer community is at least open to it, I'd say.
Well, the other thing too is like
PC, obviously.
The other thing too is like it gives them a chance to find talent. Like if you see someone do a mod that's crazy, like a good example, and I know it's another Fallout example, but it's the people that are literally recreating right now. There's a team of like, I think it's like 7 or 8 people that are like frame for frame recreating Fallout New Vegas, redoing the voices. It's basically like they're building a new game, but they're doing it with the Fallout 4 graphics and everything. So it's like it's gonna look a lot better than New Vegas did, but it's gonna have the same gameplay as it. They're going through it was crazy. There's a YouTube channel you can go check out for what they've done so far, but they're doing it for that one. I just think that it gives them an opportunity. And you talk about Bethesda. Bethesda's actually one of the few communities I know that actually promotes the modders. Like they'll actively post about mods in their games on their social media, and they'll also post it in a lot of their Bethesda forums, and even in some of their E3 stuff they've even mentioned about modding, because the community, that's what they love to do in that kind of in that game, is just mod it, because there's so much opportunity, right? Bethesda basically, here's the base, now go with it, see what they can do with it. So
Bethesda it is really had their own controversy surrounding that too.
Yeah, true.
They implemented like that one. They implemented that service or whatever it was. I forget what it was called.
Creation Club.
Where, the Creation Club, where modders could get paid for what they made, but so did Bethesda. They got their little fingers in there because the modders can't be the only ones getting compensated.
Yeah.
Because people were all for the modders getting paid, because a lot of them will have donation pages or like Patreons or something. Be like, hey, help support me. So then Bethesda's like, what? You guys are getting money?
Then the one nice thing about that they did do is, yes, the Creation Club is them basically taking money, but they didn't stop them from talking about their Patreons and stuff in their mod descriptions on the non-paid side. So if you go to just straight mods on Fallout 4, for example, a lot of their descriptions will have their Patreons, YouTube channels, Discords, and you can go support that specific modder. But they don't necessarily flash it being like, hey, support just this modder, don't support us, kind of thing. Their Creation Club was literally, it actually kind of was confusing because it didn't really make any sense for what they were doing. Besides, they do release some of their updates on Creation Club that are not mod community. But it was like a way to be like, hey, partner with us, and then we get a percentage, and you guys can sell your mod on our Creation Club.
I think when it first launched, it was bad too. I think it's gotten it's much better now. I'm sure.
They do a lot of like things where it's like giveaways of stuff, and they'll compensate the modders for it. So it's not horrible. I think they got enough backlash from it after people found out that they started to think about it. Like, say what you will about them, they do care about their community. They just don't show it as often.
Oh, how the mighty fall.
But I just generally thought about modders. I think like games like Pokemon, like where you could mod DLC for Pokemon games, you could allow, or you could even do for do stuff for I don't know, like The Witcher 3. You could mod a lot of stuff for that one and expand on the universe.
Well, there's stuff like Pokemon Uranium and stuff like fan campaigns and stuff. Yeah, ROM hacks.
Those get freaking butchered by Nintendo. Nintendo is so scared to let anyone do anything with their IPs. They're terrified.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the most
where if it's like if someone uses your IP 2 times, you lose it, and then they're like, "Fuck."
That's what I said. It is illegal in Japan to mod. It's highly frowned upon in Japan, but even despite that, like I think one of the most well-known mods of all time is actually Project M, which was basically like the kind of mostly Super Smash Bros. Melee community. Brawl comes out and it's not the game that they wanted it to be, so they used an exploit with the SD card system on the Wii to make it the game that they wanted it to be. And what's interesting is Nintendo, I think, did one of the stealthiest takedowns of Project M ever. Like, they didn't openly do a C&D. I think they just threatened a C&D that would be so debilitating that they just decided to shut down. But what's really fascinating is pretty much everything that Project M added to improve Super Smash Bros. Brawl, they actually ended up eventually implementing into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. They brought back the melee air dodge system where you can zip in a different direction. Lots of skins and characters that they modded back into the game. Like, for example, there was Pokemon Trainer in Brawl. They removed every part of Pokemon Trainer except Charizard in Smash 4, and then they brought them back in Ultimate. But in Brawl, they modded it so that Pokemon Trainer, the 3 Pokemon were their own characters, and there's no switching between them. And I think through that, Nintendo were able to see that like people really liked the Pokemon Trainer character and kind of brought them back, right? Like a lot of elements that made Project M unique were eventually adopted into Smash Ultimate. So
yeah.
It's interesting how that comes together in the end, because Project M, even though it's very, very illicit, it's like this huge flag. Like, this is what Super Smash Bros. Players want. You can please the entire fan base by pretending you came up with these ideas yourself, you know?
But that then opens the problem, is that should the modders for Project M be compensated for the ideas that Nintendo technically
they don't own the ideas. They don't have any legal right to it.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't they?
Because their foundation is something they don't own. So therefore everything they built off it is invalid. That can't be protected.
I don't know if that's how the IP system works. Like,
I don't
property intellectual.
Well, it depends a lot on the rights.
The modders are fighting a losing battle, considering they're modding the modders are modding a game that doesn't belong to them in the first place. You know,
yeah, but Nintendo wouldn't take it down if they weren't afraid of something like that becoming a reality. I think that's why Nintendo takes these things down, because in some cases, I think a modder has some right to be compensated for any work that is taken by a developer and implemented into their game.
Like Blizzard, in the classic WoW that came out, I think it was the one that got all the backlash or whatever.
Yeah,
they changed detail in the user agreement where any custom games you made that Blizzard now owns, because in the original WoW, Diablo, it was a custom game within WoW that grew and grew and grew to the extent of becoming its own actual thing. So to make sure that doesn't happen again, Dota. It was Dota.
Warcraft.
Yeah, so to ensure that can't happen again, Blizzard says now you can continue to do it, but we own everything. So I bet Nintendo has something similar along those lines.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's also like, I think this is kind of on a similar vein when the fans were making another Metroid 2 remake. Nintendo came in and they shut that right down, and people were like, "Why would they shut that down?" And it turns out like a few months later or whatever, they announced that they had their own Samus Returns Metroid game. Like they were actually developing the game as like the other people came out with that remake, and they were probably just like, we don't.
What the heck?
we're kind of doing this. This is our thing, and we're doing it right now. So, can you guys go away?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would be interesting if in the future they made a bit more of a symbiotic agreement to it, because I think modding just has a lot of like just kind of stinky aspects to it that make it hard to fully immerse. Like you take Project M for another example, like there's all of these IPs, there's all of these licensed characters that get thrown into Smash Brothers, and so it probably really complicates things when modders have the freedom to do what they want. Because I know, for example, most third-party characters in Smash, their alternate skins can't look like any other character that exists in that character's franchise. So you use Sonic, for example, all of Sonic's skins look very vaguely not like anything else that any other Sonic character that exists. But then in Project M, they gave him a Tails skin and a Super Sonic skin, and they put Knuckles in Project M as a playable character and stuff as well, right? So I think especially for games with a lot of licensed characters and with very delicate IPs, it's just a lot of stuff that they're not really able to legally do, right?
Very true.
It is interesting. The Project M situation in particular really fascinates me, because they shut Project M right the frick down. But then almost every unique concept that the fans really enjoyed, they just put into Smash Ultimate, because the Smash Ultimate devs realized that they could listen to their annoyingly vocal fan base, give them exactly what they want, and be received as gods at the end of the day, you know?
It's just very interesting how some communities promote like the community being involved, and other communities promote not being involved.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating how Bethesda can so openly encourage that, and Steam can facilitate it. And then on the other side of the coin, you got Nintendo like ready to drop meteors at anybody who hacks into the code of their games.
Let Meowth go.
Right. No, it doesn't have to be this way.
Pick him up, Peter. Pick him up.
Meow.
Well, guys,
All right,
this was a fun podcast, guys.
Ending at 11:11. Wow.
Make a wish.
Make a wish, viewers. I wish for you to return next week for the next podcast. But if you want to see us before that, lucky for you, we stream 5 days a week. Me and Erik will be on a Monday. Graydon and Jarrod will be on Tuesday. The whole squad on Thursday. Oh man, so much live connection. And even if that isn't enough for you, we got a Discord. That's the best way to come interact with us. If you want to join our Minecraft realm and more, make sure to join the Discord. And I hope you have a good Sunday. Any closing words?
Yeah, that's right.
Bye.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I want to continue what you're saying, Peter. Even if that's not enough, we have a YouTube channel with hundreds of high-quality YouTube videos that you can go and watch at your convenience. Yeah, I said it. You had a problem with that, Jen?
I should have ended the stream.
Yeah, you asked for extra thoughts. You had a good outro going, and then you were like, hey, guys, you can talk now. And then, you know.
Because it's not all about me.
Oh, Peter, don't lie. It's all about you.
You said it, not me.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.